Frank didn't come with you. Is this on?
Yellow house next.
We're on?
Oh, across the street. Yeah.
It is now the top of the hour, and so the July 17th, 2018 meeting of the Local Historical Preservation Commission is called to order. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes. Did you all have a chance to read the minutes?
Striking the word draft off of the document, I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a comment. We have no one wishing to speak at this point, okay. Reports of officers and the board.
Yes.
Good evening, Lenice Lyons, Planning and Zoning Specialist for City of Villa Rica. Just wanted to give a quick update on the comprehensive plan. We are coming to the end of the public input process. We will have the final steering committee August 2nd at the library. It'll be 6 p.m. I believe. And the first open house for the draft of the updates will be also held at the library the following week, on the 7th. At that open house, you'll see draft of new maps, future land use maps, any updated text, anything that the short-term work program, things like that will all be presented there. It'll be an all-day kind of event going from about noon to 7 till whenever the library closes. Give people the opportunity to come in, take a look at everything, and give more comments at that point if they have any. So we'll be moving forward to Planning Commission and on to City Council and DCA for approval. So we stay current and legal with the state. Also at the next Planning Commission meeting, if you guys will be in attendance, Vicki Coleman with the Parks Department, the Director of Parks and Recreation, will be presenting the Master Trails Plan to them to move it forward to be adopted by council. So, anything you guys want to get in before then? I know we're taking a look at some of the goals and objectives for the Historic Preservation Commission. I think those are kind of fleshed out. I think we just need, kind of broad in the sense that you can shape what policies and direct actions you want to use to implement those goals and objectives. We'll be meeting again with the comp plan team in the next week or so they kind of go over some other details that deal with kind of the short-term work program and making sure that we're reporting all those things correctly. But that's about the sum total of what's been happening with the conference.
Thank you, Denise. Historical plaques.
I beg to move this to next month. I'm still doing a bit of research and I don't feel that I would be presenting the plaque information as good a manner as if I have a bit more time.
Motion to refer to the August meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I do have one question for the board. Is there a particular direction? I mean, there's so many different ways that I could go with this. Is there something in particular that we're looking at?
I need to hear you speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. Sit down. It's not speaking well. I'm trying. There we go. Is there a particular direction that we're looking at? There's so many different ways I could go with this.
Train.
Train. One more. Okay, we're safe now.
Can you refer back? Denise? Do you have any more? No.
Oh, from West Georgia for the ordinance?
No, because from the comprehensive plan, that's,
Oh, no, that was it.
what direction are we going in? That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean,
I think, what we've been concerned about, we didn't know that there were plaques already made until 2 or 3 months ago. And so there were people who probably asked for those plaques and never got them. And so we had that list given to us for those plaques that were already made.
all right.
We haven't had any new applications except for the one from on Main Street, the Victorian Home. So that's the only new one that we've had in there. I think that instead of having them sitting in somebody's drawer in City Hall, we need to make sure that they get them and have. I know that with planning and with what we were talking about before was the idea that we were looking at signage for the whole city. And I think that that's probably something that Bobby and Denise can speak to as far as where are we on there? Because I know that a year ago, Chris Pike had presented pictures of signage for Little Rickard, basically. We've got the trail signage for the trail, but we were also speaking at our last meeting about putting in signs that say Historical District, because each house would not necessarily need to have a plaque. But by saying Historical District on a street sign, then people who were riding around would realize that that's a historic district.
Yeah, and to speak to that, when you use that term historical district, you have to adopt that historic district. So the only one that's gone all the way through the process to the National Register is the North Villa Rickard Commercial District. The South portion has not gone through that process. I'm through the National Register. If you wanted to declare a property or a district as a commission, that's outlined in your ordinance as to what the steps are. And it involves, a lot of the research has already been done. That was done in 2009. So we have surveys, we have contributing, architecture, some that's non-contributing factors and elements. But to move it forward to where it's formally adopted, there's a few things that have to happen per the ordinance, adopting of the ordinance. There's gotta be an application, there require public hearings, in at least 3 consecutive, notice of public hearing shall be published in at least 3 consecutive issues in the principal newspaper of such local circulation. Notification of the Historic Preservation Division, with the Department of Natural Resources. Recommendations on proposed designations. Villa Rica City Council action, following the HPC recommendation, and then notification of adoption. So, I don't, if we want to place historic district markers or signs on property that has not formally gone through this process, I would kind of recommend that we do that we go ahead and move forward with the designation so that the sign is congruent with what we actually have done. Because putting the sign there doesn't make that property, subject to any certificate of appropriateness process or anything like that. It would just be the designation, which would be really like the plaques, what the plaques would be. But, you know, we had the survey that showed Fullerville and a lot of other residential districts that were just never brought into under the purview of the Historic Preservation Commission because they just never got adopted. And so there's we have this process that would be able to take care of that, but from the research I've been doing, it doesn't seem like at some point it just stopped and never carried forward for one reason or another. I saw on the website the South Commercial District never got to the historic register because of the old library. And so I don't know if hearts and minds have changed since then, but it's things like that, seems like something small happened that derailed the entire process and never got back on track.
So in other words, what we probably need to do is to take a look at some of the studies that were done, and then to take a look at the map, and then see what could be put into a newer part of the historical district, given that according to some of the articles, anything that's over 50 years old, which to me is not necessarily old, but we can still take a look at how we can bring them in. And the initial library, of course, is right there next to the funeral home, that tiny little building. And how historic is that? I have no idea. We also need to have a clear idea of city historical places, regional historical places, and those in the National Register. So we really need to make sure that we know which is which at this point, because not all of them have given me any clarity in reading some of them.
From the National Register, from the database I've been able to search, I've only seen 3 properties, or three things on the register for Villa Rica. One is the North Commercial District. The other is the farm, Goldwood Farm, and I completely forgot who the third one is.
Isn't it the old jail?
Fullerville? Yeah, possibly.
I
think it is Fullerville. Yep. That's state actually, and regional.
It shows up on the national database. And I had so much luck with
It's got a mark on it? Okay.
That's something that we want to look at doing. We can figure out what the process is and what we need to do. And if you guys decide how you want to move forward, that's what staff considers. Catalyze that process.
My suggestion would be that since all of us are going to training, that we have, I've got questions already written down that I wanted to make sure that I ask what we're doing. If we have our own questions, then we can come back, because what we would like to do is to possibly do our own, again, revamping of our historical guidelines. Looking at some of the others that were proposed, and particularly looking at Cartersville, and meshing them with what I did was to download Cartersville and put it side by side with our pages to see what could be taken out, what we can substitute in for ours, so that once we are able to work on it as a commission, then we can all approve of that, and then forward it to city council for approval as well. Thank you for that. Does that help all, Commissioner?
Yes, yes it does. I just wanted to make sure I was going,
Just wanted to make sure I was going in a good direction.
Any other reports? Standing committees? Okay. Old business.
Old business, last month we discussed Southern Homes, and land certificate of appropriateness. Per the previous meeting, the ruling was to defer for 45 days until the July meeting, to come back with paint samples and different sconce options, as the staff recommended approval with the conditions, with the following conditions. Awnings to be canvas or fabric with matte finish, and the colors that coordinate with the rest of the district. Building colors should include light earth tones which complement existing color schemes found on the block. And coach lanterns, metal sconces should be avoided as they are inappropriate elements for the downtown commercial district. So there was some conversation back and forth, I remember, about the color, about the awning, and about the metal sconces, as far as bringing back different examples for you all to decide on tonight. Applicant is here to speak on behalf of her application, but staff recommendations remain the same as since the previous one. So.
Right.
Did you guys decide on a sconce based on the ones that we marked in last month? Which ones were appropriate? Okay. Here.
gosh, no.
You can almost see them. Just something like that, not.
So it's similar to those, and it's in those same ones that we marked as being appropriate for the district. Okay. Okay.
I like it.
More in keeping with the historical part of the,
It is not, like this is a more yellow color.
What's on there now?
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
very damaged. Yeah, but this is not yellow though. That's what it's not.
Does it currently have shutters?
No,
Is that something that you're intending to do?
we would like to do it, but I don't know. It's like looking at the text of it now.
you see it?
I'm not sure what the standard says about shutters in the downtown district.
We want to make it look more charming. We were also looking at lights and also.
Those shutters do look a little more contemporary.
Yeah.
Like the Louvre type of,
handmade, like, have a, not a Louvre one, crafted style shutter, not open.
More of like an arts and crafts.
how did you arrive at the black awning?
Well, before we had red, you know, we were all about red. So I wanted to do something, I really black and very well, together. And Tom is, we were this and black. And I really don't. And I, you know, I was hoping if you get this, black line, but no,
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
the whole thing looks terrible to the post.
How are the roof on?
The roof is black, that's what I was looking at as well. I like the idea of the black awnings. I'm not overly thrilled with shutters. Faux shutters always just look faux. Well, we took care of that. But you're right, the front of the building could be made a bit more attractive, maybe by trim paint on the windows or something of that nature. Because in your drawing there, they are painted black.
They're black.
But in the actual photo, they're kind of a white. So that would make a lot of difference, I think.
And you said the color that you chose is one of the historic colors through.
Well, this is just happens to be a
Train. Sorry.
The rule is 3 crossings.
I think that was it.
The
I'm with
guy
you,
that
Kim.
comes through
I
at
think
5:15
shutters
every
are-
morning
Yeah.
starts
Much.
on 61-101, and he doesn't lay off of it till he gets halfway to Douglasville. I swear. I know. He's noisy.
The lights by the side, by the entrance there, those are also new. Periodic, yeah.
Would those be in the same style as the other ones? Because in that rendition, it kind of looks like the caged lightings, lights around by the doors. Yeah.
Yeah.
The same idea. It's that. Technically different lights, but it's there. But there's nothing
I think currently, in my opinion, without the shutters, I like everything. I just have the question about making sure that the lighting around the door is within the standard. And
My concern about the lights on the side is, since I've been in the building now, and going through those doors, with anything sticking out, and people wanting to get through there, and looking at the proportion of the drawing right now, it almost looks like they would be hit by that. I'm wondering if there isn't more of a torchlight type of flat thing that would be more in keeping with the time period, and be flatter against the wall and not sticking out, so that when people walk in, they're not going to be having to hit or worry about that overhang there.
Or perhaps something even under the awning itself so that it lights the doorway.
it's not necessarily visible.
Yeah, true, never mind, my bad.
So you can expand the size of the awning. Yeah,
I like the look of what you got there. I would not mind seeing a final front door light fixture, or at least a photo of something. But other than that, I think it's acceptable like that. Totally.
Any other questions? Question? We have a motion to accept.
I move to accept.
Commissioner Poole has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by
as presented.
As presented, that I would like to see what, and not to make any further decision on it, but I would like to see it. As long as it's age appropriate in that area, yes.
In 1920, Mitchell architect. Didn't have I'm not sure. I think it's flight pictures. I'm not sure
Yeah. When I was checking on them, I was looking at it, I said that the torch type of thing, flat, would go with that particular time period and be a little bit flatter against the wall and still be able to use the same electricity.
You did good.
Do you mean the torch type, like what is there now?
Yeah. We have a motion on the floor.
Right.
Point of order.
We need to vote.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Discuss.
at this point, I also want to thank Rosemary
Yes.
Yes, thank you for your patience.
for not only giving us that, but she has been working diligently on a color palette, so that we can take a look at it as a commission and go through there. So thank you very much for doing that. And believe it or not, in addition to the color patches that she found from a variety of stores, historical colors that would match when she was taking a look at what colors were used in Villa Rica going back to the late 1800s. She has numbered the back of every single one of them so that you could go to any one of the stores, whether it's Benjamin Moore, Frank, Home Depot, Lowe's, or any of them, or Sherwin-Williams, and any color that people would maybe want to use are in here. And so as we work on this a little bit more, but I do want to publicly thank you for pulling all those together so that we can take a look at it. And thank you, because we will, as a commission, take a look at them and see what she's done. So I will pass it on to them and see that. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to a new business.
Good evening, Lenise Lyons again. So new business, we're going to discuss options for the August meeting. You all will be in training on the date that you'll usually meet next month. So we were wondering if you want to either cancel the August meeting or declare a different date, perhaps the following week, the week before. Wouldn't really work before Tuesday, and the week after wouldn't really work. I mean, the week at the end of the month. So we're recommending Tuesday, August 21st. If you guys would like to come meet in August, as it stands, I don't believe you've accepted application for any cases yet, but that may change.
It's my understanding that we will be having somebody sending in another application before the 30th of July. So therefore, that would be for the August meeting?
Someone is, I think there's the business that's
Yeah.
right now here, Plasters, is working on an assigned application. So it possibly could be a signed application there.
And I think that the extra building next to what we've already approved is also out there for adoption because it's a different address. So at least the application to paint that part of the building will have to be approved by us as well.
That's right.
And we have the microbrewery that was just approved at City Council last week, so they may be applying for that soon.
Yeah, he's
Right.
been a regular at the office, so he's eager to
Yeah.
move forward. And, I believe he's aware that with where he is and the requisites to come before you.
Okay.
So Tuesday, August 21st. It's the suggested date, same time, 6 p.m.
Good with me?
Motion to accept that date?
Make a motion, we accept the date of August 21st, 6 p.m. for the next commission, or historic commission meeting.
Folks, second by Commissioner Coors.
Bring me a birthday cake. That's my birthday.
All vote, all in favor?
Duly noted. Cake.
You bring the cake and we'll eat.
We will be meeting then on August 21st.
All right.
Okay.
That's all for me.
UGA,
UGA?
design group. Design group.
Yeah, design group?
Still working on contacting them as far as developing those guidelines. Just haven't had a ton of feedback from them as of yet. And with Chris departing as one of our go-to guys for downtown, we're looking at the best way to move forward and how do we carry an ordinance forward that encompasses RSVP and HBC. So we're still doing some lead work on that, Bobby and I and staff, but we've not made a lot of headway as far as, because Chris had a call out to them, so did Bobby. It's been tough sledding. I don't know if it's because it's the summer and not many people are hanging around. Not many professors are looking to hang around. And and write us an ordinance. But, that's what we've been working with so far.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually spoke with Chris and Janet last Wednesday.
Okay.
And yes, he mentioned that he hadn't heard quite yet, but that they would both let us know as soon as possible, and that because of his leaving, that either you or Janet would be getting in touch with us to let us know what
Right.
they decided to do.
Do you all want to meet with them, or you the chairman or co-chair want to have them? Okay. Yeah. So we're working on it.
At this point, I would like to publicly, I know he's not here, but I would like it known that Chris Pike was really very helpful to all of us here with his background with HPC in the past. And he's been a great mentor to me and helping me along and giving me different ideas and what we need to be doing. So I would like him to know that and we have given a card on behalf of HPC thanking him for all of his work. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have anybody else who wants to speak? Yes.
Yes, I have a couple of things. And my understanding is this is not under the Historic Preservation Commission purview. However, the replacement wall that's been put up at the cemetery, why was it not replaced with red brick?
Bobby, can you speak to that for us, please? Because I know that there's been an awful lot of talk about that.
Yes.
How do you designate something that's over 100 years old not being part of historical preservation?
Well, first of all, there was not a wall there to begin with. It was a makeshift chain link fence that was stuck up dividing the cemetery property from the dentist office. We had grave rounds and headstones falling off the bank on the dentist property, and we looked at it, and before we approached the city council, we were trying to put something back. It was a job that's going to have to be done the old-fashioned way with a shovel and a pick, and we couldn't get machinery in there to do anything. We had to take a huge cedar tree down that the roots had gotten into grave sites. So we didn't really, we were fighting more with the challenge on putting something back to keep the graves from falling over than we were thinking about historical significance of the wall. Originally the wall started out as a concrete block, plain face block, poured in concrete. Is what was decided for the dollars it was going to take. This wall is going to cost about $75,000 to do. And then we had a meeting with the cemetery board, talked about it. All the surrounding property owners, parts of the grave surrounds in the cemetery are actually across the property onto the dentist side. And we thought we were going to have to do a boundary line adjustment. But all the property owners agreed to, okay, if you'll go in here and surgically put this thing in without tearing up everything, we'll agree to let you go ahead and do it and just leave it where it is. So that's basically how it happened. The dentist talked to us, and I can't remember the dentist's name. Y'all tell me.
Steve Wall.
Yeah. Decided after the fact that we had the meetings that the plain face concrete block was just, wasn't going to cut it. So we priced facing that with brick versus the, I guess you call it, man-made manufactured rock. Cost was like 2/3 higher to brick it. And that's how we ended up where we are. I feel your pain. I know what you're going through, but quite frankly, to me, the wall doesn't look all that bad, considering there wasn't one there to begin with.
Right.
But we were challenged with trying to, public meeting, and I'm not gonna get too deep into the fears that we had, but y'all can relate. Some of those graves that back up to that property line are, probably 60, 70 years old. And, it turns out there was nothing holding them but basically the brick mason that came in years ago and did those, just put a little mortar mixed down with a couple of concrete blocks to get everything leveled up and just laid the brick on it.
So basically, it's also a health issue, because when you're taking a look at some of if the roots are getting into the old graves, they could very well go into the other, and then you'd have a health issue as well.
Well, you have an issue with what may end up being unearthed based on what's happening with them falling in. And we got scared about it, and we're trying to scramble around and get something done quickly to try to shore that up before disaster happens. And that's how it all came about.
Commissioner Ford, does that answer your question?
It answers my question.
And it wasn't the fact that we were like, well, we don't care what the Historic Preservation Commission has to say. We didn't even think about that based on the emergency situation that we were looking at. And we even had to go back to city council, because we started with a $20,000 estimate to see how bad it was, and it was way worse than we thought. So that's why we had to go back.
Any other questions?
Nope, not about that. I do have one other item to bring up, though. The awnings that are being replaced up here on the next block, I noticed there was a cream color up there for a bit, and now that's gone. What's the final color choice on that awning?
Are we referring to Mr. Camp's
Yes.
forest green, what he submitted in his application?
I did.
Now, the
Okay.
frame that he used, I had a couple calls concerning the frame. He used some pure treated material that was kind of really light green color, and sometimes it depends on how the treatment is. It's dark, it's light. But the call was about, why isn't he putting a metal frame up instead of, well, he never intended to put a metal frame up, and the regulations doesn't specify it on the frame. So that's
Wildwood.
how that happened. But forest green was the color.
Does he intend to do an awning on that one, the second building that has a gap?
I have no idea what his intentions are at this point.
If he does, he's going to have to ask for another application.
Because I thought the original application was for that entire strip, and including taking down the one that was not damaged.
I don't think taking down the one that was not damaged was part of it, no. He was just replacing what the act of God took.
Any other questions?
Winning lotto ticket numbers for tonight?
Motion to adjourn?
End of it go.
All in favor?
We're out of here.
Okay.